Paul Skenes and Jacob Misiorowski met for the first time, and The Miz took round one. And a report broke that two teams talked about a potential trade, which of course means it's absolutely happening, right? How about we talk it through next on Locked On Pirates?
You are Locked On Pirates, your daily Pittsburgh Pirates podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Pirates. I'm Gary Morgan. We're going to talk about last night's game, how Paul Skenes did, how Jacob Misiorowski did, and then I want to spend the rest of the show discussing what the Pirates actually have or should have for sale, and to whom specifically. Losing makes people dumb, or at least irrational. So take a deep breath and work through it with me. Let's start with last night's game. First, this was a very, very anticipated matchup. I know Jacob Misiorowski has not captured the national media quite the way Paul Skenes did when he came on, but he has performed just as historically in his very, very beginnings here. We're talking about a guy who I think had only given up one hit going into this game in his two starts, and it happened to be a home run. So off of a slider. In fact, the slider was the only pitch he had given up a hit on. This is a kid that is 6'7". The extension numbers we always talk about for Bailey Falter, crazy. Huge guy. Can throw the ball 103. So imagine what Bailey does, where we talk about how the extension turns his 92, 93 mile an hour fastball into what appears to be 97, 98 to some guys because of the extension, meaning how close he's getting to home plate and down the mound before he lets go of that ball, which it just ups the perceived velocity. Now, take that into a guy who's throwing the ball 102, 103 miles an hour, give him that same world-class extension, and you're talking about pitches that probably look like they're coming in 105, 107 at times. Not easy. Hitting's not easy. Pitching like that is insane. He's very young. Who knows how his career will go from here? Who knows the kind of arm troubles he'll have? There's an awful lot of ifs, ands, or buts with young pitching. I think we all very clearly know that. But this matchup in particular, it had it all. It had everything you wanted to see. These two are the studs right now as far as young pitching goes, and it was exciting to see. I even like to see the opposing pitcher when he's a good player like that. And Paul Skenes wants to beat the best, and I want to believe he can. I'd love to see him get the supporting cast to do so. We'll talk about that when we get into the trades more, but this matchup in particular, Paul just did not have his best stuff. Before we even get into the contest, we should talk about some of the preconditions the Pirates set on this one. They went into this game already having decided that Paul Skenes was going to have a shorter outing than he typically does. His innings are up over 100 already, and they are a little bit concerned about how much they let him do this year. I understand that. Paul had a preseason goal of pitching, I think, 250 innings or something. I don't think that's going to happen, but 200 is in play if they let him go. If they let him pitch, and they're already starting to give you some indications that they'd rather not. So they went into this game pre-planning to pull him out of this a little bit early with Mike Burrows, who has been in the starting rotation, but because of the off day tomorrow, they can afford to skip his turn in the rotation. They had him as a pre-planned piggyback. So best laid plans don't tend to work out all the time, and they didn't in this one. Paul looked like he was going to need yanked in the fourth inning. This was just not his best stuff. He was a little bit erratic around the zone. Only had 4Ks. Really, a lot of deep counts. 4 earned runs for Paul Skenes, all in one inning. It's just stuff you don't see from him very frequently. It's not like he got hit around. A lot of the hits were really soft serve. Um, Defense didn't help him much. There was a line drive to center field that Cruz tried his best to come in on. I know his recent history probably sent a lot of you to basically slamming him for bad defense again, but that was not an example of bad defense. That was an example of a guy trying to make up for a drawn in infield on a pop up that typically would have probably been handled by an infielder. Came in as fast as he could, tried to make the play, got up and tried to race after it, even though it was dumb to do so because he had a very clear backup there. But we all know he has to show that hustle now, right? So he got up and did everything right. Just the play didn't work out. Aside from that, Paul Skenes got a couple ground balls that had eyes, a couple bloops here and there. It wasn't like he was just getting hammered everywhere. So I wouldn't say that this was a disaster of a game or anything for Paul. In fact, again, he only gave up runs in one inning. He worked around everything else. And the Pirates bullpen did great work. Great work again. Mike Burrows, really heroic work, actually. I thought he looked great yesterday in relief. And maybe, I think he and Ashcraft are kind of like splitting that role right now. In fact, we might even see Ashcraft get the next spot start where Burrows could have been, which could be as early as Sunday. But Burrows goes 2.1 innings, only walks one, struck out one. Really, really good outing for him. Made it minimal damage as far as what the Pirates had to use in the bullpen, and this game stayed within reach. The Pirates tried to climb back into it, worked it all the way back to 4-2 before this game was over. They had a chance. They took advantage of the Milwaukee bullpen, and that was good to see. I all in all, I mean, Paul Skenes is going to lose some games. Let's not pretend that he's not. Let's not pretend that he's untouchable. This is just one of those matchups that I think we're going to see through the years if everybody stays healthy. Paul Skenes versus Jacob Misiorowski is going to be a big matchup in Milwaukee. When you do Cincinnati, you've got a few different choices that I think we could see as far as those big matchups go. Paul Skenes versus Hunter Green, I think, is a premier matchup. You can probably start talking about at least Chase Burns having that kind of potential in Cincinnati. Lodolo and Ashcraft for Cincinnati are also pretty interesting, but I don't think they're in that same stratosphere, at least not yet. So I think there's a potential there for matchups. The Cubs, you've got Imanaga. I think that's always going to be a premier matchup. We'll see how Brown ends up turning out for them. But that's a pretty nice setup as far as that premier matchup within the NL Central. The Cardinals, they're the only one that right now I don't see that young stud, but that doesn't mean it's not coming. I'm not super familiar with their system and nothing's debuted, but you've always got Sonny Gray until you don't. So, I mean, there's premier matchups throughout the NL Central. I think it's important that the Pirates have more than one, just like some of these other teams do. You don't need everything to lean on your one guy. And I think we saw why yesterday, because sometimes even the best are going to have an off day. That's what it was for Paul Skenes. Still, he left that game winnable. The bullpen kept it winnable, and this offense continued to not, which is why we have to talk about trades, because the pitching's great, but they've got to get bats. And there's just no better way to do it than trades. Smart trades, though, which this GM may or may not be capable of. We're still going to talk about it like we are, though. Let's take a quick one, come back. We're going to talk about trades the rest of the show. Get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trades. Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy to use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. Join the Trademaster program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. All right, welcome back to Locked On Pirates, and welcome back to the drama that comes at trade season. Do me a favor and hit me with a like and a subscription here. Let's get these YouTube numbers up where they need to be, and let's keep growing the family, if you will. So the trades report comes out yesterday from Bob Nightingale of the USA Today, and it says the Pirates and Cubs have talked about trading Mitch Keller to the Cubs. And let's just kind of back up. First, talking does not mean happening. Okay? Talking does not mean this is on the cusp. This is about to take place. Okay? The first thing that you combat in trade season is you get those initial like, hey, we're having a rumbling conversation over here with so and so, and then it sends people to the internet screaming, I can't believe they're doing this. Well, they're not doing this. They talked. That's all there is to it. And that's if that report's even true. Okay. These types of reports don't do an awful lot, especially this time of year. The Pirates are a team, and most teams are a team that will talk to just about anyone. And you'd be stupid not to. You know, if you have things for sale and people are calling to ask how much those things might cost and you don't talk to them, well, you're not doing a service for yourself or the other team. That said, I don't want the Pirates trading any big assets to NL Central competition. Okay? I just don't. It's been a really, really long time since the Pirates have won the division. It has. Since I was a kid. I mean, even when we were good in the mid-2010s, they didn't win the division. Even when they won 99 games, they didn't win the division. I want to win a division. And to me, if I'm trading something like Mitch Keller, that's going to be around for the next 4 years on a reasonable contract. Probably the number 2 or 3 pitcher in a rotation. I'm not sending him to the Chicago Cubs. Do you get what I mean? Like, I'd be saying basically, I don't think I can beat the Chicago Cubs. Not only not this year, but for the next couple of years. I just don't see it. So why not just trade him over there? It's not going to hurt us. We're not going to be competing with them. I don't want to do it. Not at this stage. Not where they are. And it's not even about this GM. Replace the GM. I don't care. Where this team should be, the pieces they do have to move and everything, there's no need for this to be in division. None. I don't care what they need. And the reason that you can't do it in division beyond what I just said is those other teams are in competition for the top of this division right now. They're in competition for the playoffs. They're in wild card standing, right? Well, what are they going to give you back? Think that through for a minute. What are the Cubs going to give you back for Mitch Keller? Let's say this goes through. Cubs want Mitch Keller. That part of it I can certainly understand. I've heard they want David Bednar too. Congratulations. There's 2 players that the Cubs supposedly want. Could I see them wanting them and paying for them? Yeah, I could. But what are they going to pay? What are they going to give the Pittsburgh Pirates in return for those 2 players? Do you think they're going to give them major league players? Do you think Ian Happ's coming back? You think they're going to give us Jameson Taillon? Let J-Mo go ahead and finish his career out with us for that last year of his contract? Is that what you think? Do you think they're giving you a whole top of their top prospects? Is that what they're going to do? They're going to give you 3 or 4 of their prospects? They might. They might. That actually might be what they have for sale. So I ask you, what does that do for the 2026 Pirates? Does that make the 2026 Pirates better? I don't know. Their farm system is strong. It's not as though I'm saying they're bad players or anything, or they don't have a possibility of being good or moving into being good or being developed the rest of the way. But what's our biggest problem here in Pittsburgh? Developing the bats, right? So the last thing I want to do is go out, trade a proven commodity for something that's not proven, and then try to pretend that somehow I'm going to get better while losing one of my better pitchers and gaining 3 or 4 new projects heading into 2026. That doesn't fix my team. It doesn't. You're selling me I'm telling you I'm poor, and you're offering me a war bond I can't cash in for a couple years. Do you get what I mean? I'm telling you I'm starving. I need a cheeseburger right now. And you're going, here's a coupon for Burger King. It doesn't actually take effect until next week, but here you go. Enjoy. It's free. That's not what I want this team to be doing. All right. I want this team to be focusing on immediate improvement, major league return. The only reason I would consider trading Mitch Keller, speaking for me, the only reason I would trade Mitch Keller is if I can get back a bona fide MLB hitter. It's why I keep targeting teams like the Red Sox, who I feel have an overflow of major league hitting. It's why I keep looking at teams like Baltimore, who I feel have an overflow of major league hitting. Not teams that are right there trying to make a push. I'm not asking LA to send me, a major league hitter in exchange for Mitch Keller, even if they need pitching, because they're trying to win a championship. They're not going to give me major league talent that I can use immediately back. They're going to give me back a Spencer Horwitz at best. And I say that kindly. I think Spencer Horwitz is going to turn into a pretty good player. I love that he had some major league experience already when he got here, but not a finished product. He's a guy that still needs work. He's a guy that still needs a little bit of development. That's about the best you're going to get back at this trade deadline as far as right away talent. That's what's going to happen. So if you're going to trade a big asset like Mitch Keller, 2 things. I don't want it in the division. Period. And 3, if it doesn't come with major league return, I don't want it. I'll just keep the major league talent I've already got inked. I'd rather have him keeping this rotation strong. I'd rather have this rotation and pitching staff up near the top of the league then I would like to see them chip away at that, move it down, pray that the other pitching prospects come up and fill that hole. And oh, by the way, bring in a bulk of new prospects that I'm also going to fail to develop the rest of the way. You get what I mean? That's a pessimistic look at it. That's a pessimistic look at what the Pirates would do with these prospects. What have we seen them do with prospects? Who have we seen them trade for as a close to the league prospect that has worked out? David Bednar? You want to give him Colin Moran? How about Joe Musgrove? Joe Musgrove's a great example. But here's the path of Joe Musgrove, right? He really worked out. He wasn't good when they first got him. It took them 2 or 3 years to get Joe Musgrove to the point where you were starting to talk about, okay, this is the best pitcher in our rotation right now. Just in time to turn around and trade him. Because he only had a year or two left of control. And they were nowhere near winning. Here's where we'll be if you trade Mitch Keller for that same thing. A year or two from now, maybe a much stronger team because you've traded for some good prospect assets that, let's just dream that they've come together and they've hit the magic formula of development. Or that they're so much better because they're so much smarter about picking in the first place, that they're that much better than our prospects. That's the dream anyway. That's what most of you think is going on in the league, right? So you get these prospects back, and then what? You think like immediately in 2026, they're right where they need to be, the height of their powers? Or do you think that goes on a little bit? And if it goes on a little bit, well, then you need to look back at your Paul Skenes clock. Your Paul Skenes clock expires in 2030. Do you want to just get good in 2028? You want to just get good in 2029? Well, then go ahead and trade Mitch Keller to whoever, because you really don't care about the division within the time frame of his contract. You really don't think you're going to win within the time frame of how long Mitch would have been here. I'm just saying, don't help the Cubs beat your ass for 4 years in an effort to maybe be better in a couple years here in Pittsburgh. That's one trade, but let's talk about what goes into a smart trade. Who are we really trying to sell here? What the hell is the goal? When we come back. Summer sports are in full swing. And whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. You're already following the action. Why not make it a little more thrilling with FanDuel? You can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. It's easy to use, fast to pay out, and makes even regular season games feel like must-watch events. New to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. All right, welcome back to Locked On Pirates. We talk about who's going to be traded a lot. Let's make sure we understand why. There are guys that are on the last year of their deal. Okay? The last year that the Pirates can control their rights. Meaning they can't just go and tell them we're going to take you to arbitration. You have to play here next year. They're not going to sign for some crazy cheap deal. They're probably not even somebody that you want to sign for some crazy cheap deal for the most part. They're guys that have a little bit of value to a playoff team. They're guys that are on their way out anyway. Okay? The Pirates have a ton of them that they can move with impunity. Not a single one of them, not IKF, not Andrew Heaney, not Caleb Ferguson, not Tommy Pham, not Adam Frazier, not Ryan Barucki if he ever gets healthy. None of these rentals that you have for sale are going to bring you back major league ready bats. All of them could bring you back prospects. So, like I just said, I don't want a ton of prospects for these big chips. And I don't think that that's going to give me enough of a balancing of the scales between pitching and hitting that I need to make this current version of the team better right away. But that doesn't mean that you turn your nose up at prospects for all these rentals. You're going to lose them for nothing. So move those rentals for whoever you want to whoever you want, even in the division. I don't care. If you help the Cubs this year, I mean, the most help that the Pirates have given these teams in the division is allowing them to play them. Okay? This year. But I'm looking a little beyond this year. I don't want to help them long term. I don't want to help them for years to come. I'll help them this year if it gets me back an interesting prospect or something. Let's say like the Cubs have an injury to somebody like, oh, I don't know. Let's say Dansby Swanson goes down and they have a big hole at shortstop and they really can't fill it unless they bring up a prospect of their own. Well, somebody like Isaiah Kiner-Falefa might be attractive to them. You could see them maybe wanting him, and then I wouldn't have a problem with it. Take IKF, that's fine. Yeah, he's a good player. Yeah, he's going to help the Cubs. But he's going to return a prospect for me, and that's okay for the type of player I'm sending out. But if I'm sending out big chips, like if I'm making big trades, like Mitch Keller, who's arguably your biggest asset as far that you have that you could move. He's signed for years to come, reasonable contract. There's a couple reasons the Pirates might want to get out of that. First, they've got a ton of young pitching coming. But it's shaky. You want them to be sure about that young pitching, right? So you'd like to see more of it. We are getting a good look at Braxton Ashcraft and Mike Burrows, and I think we're going to continue to see more of that. Carmen Majinski gave us a decent stretch of starts. We're going to see Bubba Chandler at some point. We're going to see Hunter Barco. We're going to see Harrington. It's going to keep coming. And eventually there will get to a point where it's even more comfortable to move on from Keller. It doesn't have to happen at this deadline. Trading Mitch Keller at this deadline, you should be very discriminating. You should be getting back exactly what you want. Major league hitters. Major league hitters. Proven major league hitters. At least one. If you're going to balance the scales by making these trades, you're going to weaken your team in one place and strengthen it in another. If this was 2021 and they had Mitch Keller signed to such a contract, and I looked at the team around and I knew that they just didn't have anything coming and he was going to be the only pitcher in that rotation all by himself trying to hold down the fort, then I would tell you, yeah, whatever. I get it. He's Rick Rhoden. Trade him off and see if you can get a Dougie Drabek. I completely understand the thought process. I don't understand the thought process of thinking you're going to move him to a competitor this year at the deadline, and that competitor is going to be capable of giving you major league talent in return. If they had an overflow of major league talent, chances are they wouldn't be looking to make a trade at the deadline like that. That's all I'm saying. It's realism is what I'm talking about. Realistically, look around the league. Look at the trade partners. Look at what's actually there. It's such a sweet spot that the Pirates would have to find in order to move Mitch Keller. I've proposed moving Mitch Keller, so it's not like I'm against it. But you've got to be smart about it. This is one you can't swing and miss on. It's the same as everybody saying, I don't want Charrington doing it. Fine. You're right. But I don't want anyone doing it that doesn't know exactly what their goal is. Their goal should be to bring back major league hitters. Right now, major league hitters. Guys that have done it. Guys, I don't have to rely on this system to make okay. That's what I'm talking about when it comes to these trades. This deadline, all that's for is these rentals, if you ask me. Anything else they swing beyond that, anybody they send that's got term with this team or years of team control, any one of those that they send out the door, they better get back major league hitting for. They really better. Because the only other way the Pirates can go about it is to completely flip the script on the league. They're not making the playoffs this year, but they could go into this deadline if they were a smart team with a buyer's mentality. They could go out there wearing their prospects on the outside of their pants, swinging them around, saying, hey, you guys want a project? How about you offer that? Go to a team like the A's that probably isn't going to make the playoffs. They've got a plethora of young hitting talent. A lot of it has emerged already. A lot of it is starting to get squeezed out because they've got so much coming up already. Go see if you can pry a couple of those loose and offer them some pitching to kind of counterbalance it, because they need that. You might be able to sell them prospect pitching in exchange for major league hitting. It may not make sense because the Pirates aren't going to do anything this year, but that's how you lay the base for improving this team moving forward. And this is not the same as it was in 2020 or whatever. This is not the same. Not now. You can't do that when you've got Paul Skenes already. You can't do that because you have to win in that window. There's not time to fart around with it. That's why you have to make good, smart decisions with the assets you do have. And you need to go out and target the right things. I fear that this team thinks still they can go out and get Hoy Parks and Diego Castillos and turn them into major league help. It just doesn't happen very often. And even when it does, it's something like Joey Bart, who comes on and does really well for a stretch and then basically wastes your time for another season. Get serious. Start by hiring somebody that knows what they're doing. If anything, at this deadline, please just don't screw things up. Get to the off season at least where somebody smarter can make decisions and real trades with teams that don't think they have playoff implications because they're trying to formulate their entire roster. You will get better returns for guys like Mitch Keller, if you ask me, if you wait till the off season, when teams are trying to decide what they want to be next year, than you will trying to force it into this deadline, if only because your dancing partners are going to be so minimal. You're only going to have a few teams that actually make sense if you're looking for the right return, which is a big if with this moron of a GM. That's all I got for you today. No game tonight. And almost, thank God. Tomorrow, let's do an Ask Me Anything again. Another shot at it. Ask me questions, anything you want. I'll put up some notices on social media. Let's do an AMA, and we'll talk about whatever else comes up too. Thanks, everybody. Have a good one. Let's go, Bucks.